Hey, what's up YouTube? This is We All Juggle Knives with a review of the Mora Garberg. Yeah, the full Tang Mora. What will they think of next? A full Tang Mora. Was that really necessary? Kind of a controversial knife too because of the price. I'll definitely weigh in on that. But first, the blade, 4.3 inches. And you can see that tang. Right? I found the handle gives an excellent grip. The knife arrived sharp. It is Sandvik, a Swedish stainless steel, and I have a lot of usage footage coming up. It's got some TPE inserts on that handle. Now, Mora itself is a very respected company. They make good stuff, and they're known for generally giving you a lot of value for low prices, but you know, that's not going to save them from people's wrath about the price of this knife. But you know, prices do tend to go down over time, so who knows what the price will be if you're watching this video, 5 years from now. Okay, some usage footage. Now I'm just going to keep talking about the knife as you watch the usage footage. I have quite a bit of it. Now there I am making some shavings. I found this knife bites into wood quite well. And I may even use those shavings for something later in the video. You never know. That is snow, by the way. It was trying to snow on me, but it wasn't really succeeding that well, just a few flurries. All right, let's talk about the stainless steel. Is it okay? Well, Dave said it's okay if you watched his video. I already knew it was okay, though. High carbon steel is preferred in many outdoor blades, but that's a lot more. It's a lot more mandatory in longer, heavier blades because of what they call toughness. And some of my viewers have also pointed out that it's generally easier to sharpen the high carbon steel in the field. Well, that's a good point. But for a knife like this, there's nothing wrong with using that Swedish stainless steel. It gives it good corrosion resistance, and it's not going to snap like if you made a sword out of stainless steel. That would not be so good. But this is a fairly small knife. There you see my shavings there. This knife has 90-degree angles at the spine, a sharp spine for throwing sparks, and it throws sparks exceedingly well. Now I am familiar with what they call the bird's nest method of tinder, but I didn't have time for all that, and it was starting to snow a little harder, so I just lit the shavings on fire directly. And yeah, this thing really threw sparks. That is a bayite ferro rod, by the way. Now another thing I forgot to do was put a lanyard on that. I meant to put a lanyard on that, would have been a lot easier, but I was in a hurry. So this is what you get. But nonetheless, it started those little shavings on fire pretty easily. And because of the wind, right, it fed that fire. Now it's extremely damp where I am, so there's not chance of this spreading, don't worry. I don't start fires in the yard when it's dry because leaves can catch on fire and then catch everything else on fire, like down in Georgia right now. But yeah, it's got the 90-degree spine. The batoning. Oh, don't get me started on batoning. Okay. This is full tang, so it can survive batoning a bit better than the non-full tang Moras. However, this knife is far from ideal as a batoner. Now, if I want to split wood, sometimes I use a hatchet, sometimes I use an extremely heavy machete, and if I'm going to use a knife to split wood, I prefer a much longer knife and a thicker knife, such as my BK9, because there's a lot more knife sticking out that you can get a solid hit on with the baton. You see that big ass baton that I'm using? I have to use a real heavy baton with this knife, because it's not that thick. BK9 has a big, thick, chunky bevel, obviously, because it's not a Scandi, right? And a big, thick bevel will split the pieces of wood much better. So in a pinch, you can use this to baton, but it's far from ideal for splitting wood. All right, there I'm just showing you can use this as a hand drill. You can drill divots. All right, but about the 90-degree angle at the spine, do I think that's mandatory? You know, that's a big trend now. Every knife has to have that. Well, I don't think it's mandatory because you can just use a striker. However, I do understand the convenience of it, right? But I'm just saying I don't think it's mandatory. By the way, this is not a bushcraft channel. This is a general cutlery review channel. All right, now you might see some crafty stuff on the channel. That's part of the knife review. There is some overlap between knife reviewing and bushcrafting. But my point is, I do not claim to instruct you in these fine arts, okay? I'm just demonstrating what the knife can do. Now there I'm going to put a notch in this piece of wood. But speaking of the 90-degree spine, you can also use it to make scrapings from pieces of wood, depending on how soft the wood is. A lot of the wood I have here is just batoning leftovers. It's kind of seasoned and gnarly, so not the best for making scrapings with. There is the notch. You know, the thing about this knife, Mora they're very smart to make this knife because it has a combination of features that are all the most popular trends right now. The Scandi grind, super popular. They're trying to put that on everything, even on blade shapes that might not necessarily make sense. They're just putting Scandi on everything. I don't mean Mora, I mean a lot of the companies that make bushcraft stuff. The full Tang, of course, is popular. You have no idea how many little kids ask me in videos if a particular knife is full Tang. I think it's because in the Bud K catalog, a lot of their stuff, they have big capital letters, full Tang, full Tang. People who know nothing about knives, that's the one thing they know. Like if they don't know anything else about knives, they just know what full Tang means and they ask about it. And the third super trendy feature is, as we mentioned, 90-degree angle on the spine. There is the sheath. It is a leather sheath with a belt loop and overflap, but they do have a second sheath option that they call their multi-mount sheath, which is a synthetic sheath that's MOLLE compatible. Right, I just have the leather one, right, but two sheath options. There's a little size comparison. From the right, you got the Pathfinder, the Garberg, the Mora Outdoor 2000, and one of the Mora Bushcraft knives. So you see the two knives in the center have kind of symmetrical handles, and the two knives on the outside less so. So final thoughts, you know, like every other Mora, this is a fast and light design as opposed to overbelt and hard use, like for example an SE5 or SE6. It's fast and light, it's a great slicer, it's handy, easy to carry, convenient. Alright, so in a sense, this is pretty much just like every other Mora. However, it's a little more durable than the other Moras because of the full Tang. The handle is comfortable, Scandi grind I generally like. Right, so this is a good knife, but currently it's not a budget-friendly knife. So if you're on a tight budget, don't get it. And if you don't get it and you just get a $30 Mora model, are you missing out? No, you're not missing out on any significant performance. Like I said, it's like every other Mora, just a bit more durable. Hope you enjoyed the review. This has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.